Welcome to Historic Mistric channel, the ultimate extension for history lovers. If you love history, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video.
In this video, we discuss Maziar's rebellion against the Abbasid forces. The land called the Arabs after the occupation of Iran is called Gilan and Mazandaran in today's country divisions. This land has high-rise and tough mountains from Iran. Ferdowsi, famous Iranian poet, brings part of its stories in the book of Shahnameh from this land, Tabaristan. When the Persian king was broken down after the Arab attack, many parts of Iran were occupied and the Islamic Caliphate in Iran became the groundwork for Iran. Arabs' first attempt to take Tabaristan in the year 38 with Caliphate of Osman. They first arrived in the city of Ray and Demawend with the help of Said Ais, the governor of Kufa, where they attempted to attack the city of Tamisha. The people of Tamisha were hardly defending them and cut a lot of casualties. Said Ais treated and announced that if the people of the city opened the city to the Arabs, one of the people of the city would not kill the city. But after they entered the city, Said Ais massacred all the people of the city and left one alive. In the 50s of Hijri, a large army of 20,000 soldiers was sent from Kufa to conquer Tabaristan under the command of Maskala. In the mountain passes, the infantrymen blocked the way for the soldiers of Maskala's army and killed Maskala and all his troops and did not leave anyone alive to take the news of the victory to Iraq. After the formation of Abbasid government, these lands were under the attack of the Abbasid forces. The first expedition of Abbasid Caliphate to Tabaristan was in the year 137 Hijri during the Caliphate Mansur. This command was in charge of Kazim ibn Kizama. Demawand and Lieutenant Tabaristan were complicit to confront the Arabs. This campaign led to a peace treaty that made Demawand and part of Tabaristan blackmail the Arabs' government, and Muslims were allowed to set up bases in this land and deploy the necessary force to defend Islam at the base. As soon as Ibn Qasima abandoned Tabaristan for Iraq, Lieutenant Tabaristan gathered people and sent out to clear Tabaristan from the Arabs who were in several military bases and killed them all. Caliph Abbasi once again sent a large army under the command of Qasima to Tabaristan, which the commanders of Demawand and the Lieutenant General of Tabaristan were badly defeated. The Lieutenant General who fled to the mountains of Gilan died. The Abbasid soldiers took many girls out of their homes, including the 3 daughters of the Lieutenant General and Masmagan, and took them with them to Iraq as slaves. But the people of Tabaristan revolted and killed the Abbasid forces in different places of Tabaristan and found their independence. This rebellion was led by Lieutenant General Wandad Hormuz. He was the father of Lieutenant General Qarin, and Qarin was Maziar's father. When the Caliph sent an army to Tabaristan, Wandad Hormuz defeated them. But in the campaign conducted by officers named Tamim bin Sinan, Hassan bin Kataba, and Yazid bin Shabani, Wandad was defeated and fell, and the mountain was captured by the Caliph. In the year 174 Hijri, Harun al-Rashid, who had gone to the city of Ray to disobey Iran's internal affairs, made a peace treaty with Qarin and Wandad Hormuz, and it was decided that their lands would not be attacked by Abbasid forces, and that they would pay the ransom of the agreement. At the end of the 3rd century of Hijri, there was a dispute between Qarin and Shahryar over the possession of the territory, and Qarin was killed in the war, and his son Maziar was captured by Shahryar. But Maziar escaped from prison with his trick and took refuge with Ma'mun's agent. This man took Maziar to Baghdad and introduced him to Ma'mun. Maziar became a Muslim there, and the Caliph named him Muhammad. In 204 Hijri, Lieutenant General Shahryar died, and his son Shapur took his place. Maziar went to Tabaristan with Ma'mun's permission. After gathering his forces, he went to war with Shapur on the pretext of revenge, captured and killed him, and captured his territory. Maziar called himself the Caliph's agent in Tabaristan. He thought of unifying the region of Delmistan and Gilagistan. When Ma'mun died, he managed to control all of Tabaristan and Gilan. In 201 Hijri, Tahir Pushangi, who was the governor of all Iran on behalf of Ma'mun, died, and his son Abdullah became the governor of Iran. At this time, the taxes of the country, except for Khuzestan and Azerbaijan, were deposited in the treasury of Nishapur, which was under the control of Tahir Pushangi and his son Abdullah. Therefore, Maziar should send the tax of the lands under his control Abdullah Tahir. But he, being a prince, did not like to pay him tribute. So Maziar sent the tax to the Caliph's court. Khalifa wrote to him several times to send the taxes to Abdullah Tahir, but he said that I don't pay taxes to anyone but Khalifa. So the taxes went to Hamadan and then to Abdullah Tahir. When Caliph Ma'mun died, his brother Mutasim succeeded him. Abdullah Tahir was angry with Maziar's behavior and could not do anything against Maziar as long as Ma'mun was alive. When Mutasim came to power, he saw his hand open for uprising. Similarly, Maziar wanted to remove his land from the Caliphate. Meanwhile, Abdullah laid the groundwork to destroy Maziar. At the beginning of 218 Hijri, Abdullah Tahir's spies in Tabaristan spread rumors that Caliph Mutasim was planning to go to Karmasha. Simultaneously with this rumor, the Muslims of Amal and Sari cities refused to pay taxes to Maziar. Maziar summoned them and asked them to promise to pay their taxes, and he took one hostage from each of them and handed them over to his men and kept them in a fort. In order to Tabaristan, Maziar allowed the people of the villages to confiscate the property of the lords for themselves. Maziar's purpose in arresting the Muslim lords was that the Caliph would mediate to save them, and he could get the privileges he wanted from the Caliph. He built a strong wall in the Damavan region between the mountains and the sea, so that Abdullah Tahir's forces did not enter Gurgan. He had heard in a message that Hajjaj bin Yusuf had marched to Sand to free some women, but 20,000 Muslims are captives here and the Caliph is not doing anything. He told the prisoners that he would release them if they paid 2 years of taxes, but they replied that they don't have money to pay him. Meanwhile, Maziar was planning to march to Gurgan. Therefore, Abdullah Tahir sent his uncle Hassan Pishangi with a large army there. He sent another division under command of Hayyan bin Hayla to Damgan. Ishaq Pishangi, who was the governor of Baghdad, sent his brother Muhammad Ibrahim from Baghdad to the city of Ray. Mansur Hassan, the governor of Damavan, received an order from Abdullah Tahir to go to the city of Ray and march so that they could enter Tabaristan at the right time. When Tabaristan was besieged from all sides, some of the soldiers avoided Maziar and joined Abdullah Tahir. Abdullah Tahir promised them that he would return their father's mountain to them. When the Khorasan army reached the city of Tamisha, the army had taken all the mountains. The people there left Maziar and joined the troops of Abdullah Tahir. The first betrayal of Maziar happened in the mountains of the Qarin family when Hassan Pishangi's troops were marching behind the mountains. Secret negotiations between Hassan Pishangi and some mountain leaders were conducted by Qarin. They decided to betray the commanders and lords and open the way for the Hassan Pishangi troops. Qarin had been promised to hand over his father's mountain to Qarin. Qarin arrested Maziar's brother and several officers at the party and handed over to Abdullah Tahir's messengers. With the arrival of Hassan Pishangi troops in the city of Tamisha, the garrisons of the city of Tamisha defeated and fled after a small clash. Their commander was defeated and the next day was arrested and handed over by a group of traitorous people. Hassan Pishangi, their commander, executed the Red Alstan, the older brother of the Alstan. The prince was defeated and surrendered, and he was executed on the orders of Hassan. This way of entering Tabaristan for Abdullah Tahir troops was opened. Those who betrayed Maziar were 2 brothers, Muhammad and Jafar, who received letters and promise from Hassan Pishangi. With the arrival of Hassan Pishangi, the Sari prisons were broken forever, and the prisoners fled, and the city was turned away from the Sari commander, who was one of Maziar's brokers, and the city fell by Abdullah Tahir forces. 3 days after these events, Hassan Pishangi arrived in Sari, and Maziar was caught in a trap that was arranged by the traders. At this time, a letter from the Caliph came to Qahyar's brother Maziar, who will be given resistance if Maziar stops, and his father's mountain will be delivered to him. One of the leaders of the Maziar corps, who was one of his cousins, worked with Hassan Pishangi and paved the way for the Hassan troops to reach Maziar's fortress. Maziar noticed that the fort was under siege and they shouted at Maziar to surrender yourself. Maziar's elder brother Gashnesp confronted the enemy with an army of 4,000 people, but his allies lost many lives. He entered the mountains of Dilamistan with a small army, and they blocked the way for him and fought until they were all killed. They arrested Gashnesp and took him to Muhammad bin Ibrahim in disguise. Muhammad said to cut off his hands and feet and cut off his head and send it to Abdullah Tahir. Maziar was also arrested in his fortress after hours of resistance, and his property was confiscated and he was handed over to Baghdad for the Caliph. Caliph ordered to imprison Maziar and sentence him to death, and in the prison they whipped him until he died.